War Thunder is today's sponsor. Jagex held a tournament where the winner would receive $10,000 as a prize. But when the tournament ended, they couldn't decide who actually won. When they did pick a winner, everyone in the community was certain that he had cheated. This is the disaster of RuneScape's first Deadman Mode Tournament. Now, before we dive into the tournament itself, there's a little bit of backstory. In April of 2015, then product manager for old school RuneScape, Matt K, had an idea for a new game mode, which you might have guessed would be called Deadman Mode. On Deadman Mode Worlds, you would completely start over as a fresh level 3. It would be just like the main version of old school RuneScape, except PvP was on everywhere, including inside banks. There would be extremely high-level guards in some cities to defend players from being attacked and to keep scold players out, but nowhere was entirely safe. Most terrifying of all, if you died to another player, you'd lose everything. You'd respawn in Lumbridge with all your levels set back to 1, and your killer would receive a bank key, an item that would allow them to open your bank and take anything they wanted. Matt pitched Deadman Mode fairly casually on a Q&A livestream, not expecting much, but it was instantly a hit for both other staff members and the players watching the stream. When the team ran a straw poll asking viewers if they wanted to see Deadman become a real game mode, it got an astounding 95% yes vote. Mod Reach would start development on it the next day, but he would be let go from Jagex less than a week later, so it would be a while before players would get the chance to play it. Over the next few months, a few developer blogs covering Deadman Mode's proposed mechanics would be released. The game mode itself would pass an official poll in July, and the first Deadman Mode Worlds would launch on October 29th, 2015. Overall, it was almost exactly the same as the idea Matt K pitched earlier that year, aside from a few changes like 10 times XP rates, losing levels on death but not losing all of them, having a safety deposit box to protect your 10 most valuable items, and so on. I'd go into specifics, but Deadman would go through so many small tweaks and changes over the next few months, it would legitimately double the length of this video, and I'm not kidding. But if you want to see a video covering the entire history of Deadman Mode, leave a like on this video, or even if you don't want that, I'd still appreciate the like. Deadman Mode Worlds were an instant success. They were an exciting new way to play the game that everyone already knew and loved. But due to the extremely harsh mechanics, it was hard not to die, get frustrated, and just head back to the main game. Although the game mode was still receiving logins from 20,000 players every day, 6 weeks after its launch, it had been steadily decreasing. Jagex needed to think about what they wanted Deadman Mode to be long term, so they decided that in 2016, they would be launching seasonal Deadman Worlds. These worlds would be the same as permanent Deadman Worlds, except that once again, everyone would start fresh, and the servers would only be open for 3 months. At the end of those 3 months, the top 2,000 players from the server would be invited to compete in a tournament. The last player alive in this tournament would receive $10,000. This was huge. Jagex had never hosted an event with such high stakes before, and nobody was going to give up the shot to win potentially life-changing money. Sort of like how you don't want to miss out on today's sponsor, War Thunder. It's the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made and is available now for free on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations from multiple different eras. War Thunder has incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound effects. But if this is making you worried that you can't run it, the game is also heavily optimized. You'll get impressive visuals and high frame rates even on lower end machines. My favorite part is that you don't need any extra hardware either. Every vehicle in the game can be controlled with nothing but your mouse and keyboard or controller. Join a worldwide community of over 70 million players today. With an unmatched wealth of high-quality content, there's simply no game better suited for fans of military history. If you use my link in the description or pinned comment, new and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across all platforms that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account time. Now, instead of launching a seasonal server right away, Jagex would just be inviting the top 2,000 players from the permanent Deadman worlds for this first tournament. On March 21st, the first tournament would launch, and later that week, on Saturday, Jagex would show the final hour live on Twitch at the biggest gaming festival in the UK, Insomnia 57. But how exactly do you encourage players to actually kill each other so there can be a winner? Couldn't someone just hide out in an obscure building, wait for everyone to kill each other, and win by default? Well, to solve this problem, during the final hour of the tournament, deadly fog would spawn on the map. Excuse the comparison, but this fog was more or less Fortnite's storm mechanic. Although Fortnite wouldn't launch for over a year later, which I guess makes old school RuneScape the original Fortnite? The fog would slowly converge all over the map, and those who didn't run for safety would begin taking constant damage and eventually die. And in this final hour, death meant it was over for you. You couldn't respawn and would be logged out of the world. Pretty soon after the fog began spawning, some major problems with it were noticed. A player named Detandart was able to stay in the cooking guild in the middle of the fog without taking damage, while those around him began to get shredded. He was doing this using something called an interface stall. Let's say you open the bank while you're poisoned in the main game. You won't take any poison damage until you close the bank. The same concept applied for the fog. By opening an interface, you could stop taking damage entirely. Luckily, the solution for this was pretty simple. Mod Ash would track the cheaters down in-game and kill them manually. But this isn't where the fog problems would end. The safe zone in the middle of the fog would disappear once it converged on all sides. So eventually, everyone left alive would be taking constant damage. This epic 100+ player fight turned into one big tank test. Most players stopped fighting each other and focused on trying to out-eat the damage. The fog would also grow stronger and stronger, eventually hitting over 30 damage every few seconds. The final player on screen, R. Robert, would go down, but the game showed that there were still 8 players left alive. 7 of them were glitched. They had entered a random event, and due to some loose spaghetti in the code, when the fog killed them, they got stuck in an infinitely looping death animation. But then, the announcers clicked on the name of Ya Never Learn, the only player who actually had any health left, the only player truly left alive. But it was too late. He died just moments before they clicked his name. This jail cell is where players who died would get sent right before getting booted off the server. So who actually won? Was it R. Robert? He was the last person to die in the area where all the fog converged. Or was it Ya Never Learn? He was the last person alive, but nobody saw how or where he died. Was he using a stall somewhere in the fog to stay alive? Well, the chat screamed that R. Robert won. The announcers theorized that it was actually Ya Never Learn. As the announcers moved over to the couch to discuss their favorite moments from the tournament, there was still no winner declared. Back at Jagex headquarters, Mod Ash was in charge of determining who actually won, and if they cheated. In a shocking twist, they would soon announce that the winner was indeed Ya Never Learn, and as the chat erupted with complaints, they quickly ended the stream, as others needed to use the stage at Insomnia. However, behind the scenes, there was still some disagreement on who actually won. Soon after the tournament concluded, Mod Archie would tweet, "The winner of the tournament is still yet to be decided. Further investigation is needed and will update you as soon as possible." While Jagex did their investigation, players on Old School's subreddit would do their own investigation. Players noticed that when R. Robert died, there was a green icon still on the minimap. Could this have been Ya Never Learn? Players also noticed that Ya Never Learn's HP stayed exactly the same on the list of alive players, while others were dropping in health nearly every game tick. How could he stay at a constant 15 HP without stalling? Well, as soon as Ya Never Learn had learned he wasn't the winner anymore, he would claim that he was innocent.
Stalling? I'm not stalling anything.
He would tweet a few JMods that he wasn't in a random event or stalling, but was in fact south of all the action in Falador West Bank when he died. But nobody in the community was really buying this. Players noted that the area had been engulfed in fog for a long time. There was no way he could have survived the fog hitting constant 30s, right? He also said he was in Falador West Bank, so if he had opened the bank to get more food, it would have stalled the fog, allowing him to be invincible until he closed the bank. All signs seemed to point towards Ya Never Learn cheating. A few hours later, the day would end, and there was no update from Jagex on who actually won. The next day would pass too, and still nothing. So on Monday, You Never Learn would take matters into his own hands. He would make a 2,000-word post describing the last hour of the tournament from his perspective. The first 55 minutes or so are about where he was at the time, along with screenshots of his character exactly where he said he was from multiple content creators' videos and live streams, which so far shows he has a bit of credibility. But the most important part is the last few minutes of the tournament. You Never Learn claims that when the fog began to close in on everyone north of Falador, he ventured into the city to try and avoid the chaos in the middle and to get to a bank to resupply. At first, he was combo eating using sharks and brews to try and stay alive, but as the fog grew stronger and stronger, it was harder to keep up. The fog was now hitting for 39 HP every time. With only 25 HP left, he ate a shark, which would heal him 20 HP. So if he took 39 damage from the fog, he would have 6 HP left over. But at the exact same time he ate the shark, he was only hit for 25 damage, leaving him with 20 HP. How did this happen? Why wasn't he hit higher like before? Well, You Never Learn had accidentally used a strategy known as tick eating. Here's an example using this GIF from the old school RuneScape wiki. This character only has 1 health left, and has an attack coming their way that will surely kill them. But at the last second, they eat a shark. So what happens is that all in the same game tick, the player takes lethal damage, putting them at 0 HP, and then the shark that they just ate brings them up to 20 HP. This is exactly what happened to You Never Learn. The fog only dealt 25 damage instead of 39 because he only had 25 health left. So he loses 25 HP to the fog, goes to 0, and then the shark heals him up to 20. Tick eating is really weird, so if you don't fully get it, that's okay. For one game tick, you're both technically dead and alive at the same time. Now, those of you who don't play RuneScape may think this sounds really cheaty, like he's abusing a bug. And he is. But it's a bug that Jagex allows. Tick eating has existed since the creation of RuneScape 2, and has long been accepted as an actual game mechanic. It is the prime example of that game development meme. It's not a bug, it's a feature. After tick eating the fog a few times, he would run out of sharks, and would have to use Saradomin Brews, which at his level would heal him to 15 health every time. This is why his health wasn't changing when everyone else's was. You Never Learn would continue to tick eat as he walked to the bank, and died just 2 steps from a booth as he ran out of food. Luckily for him, our Robert had died just moments earlier, meaning that You Never Learn was in fact the last legitimate player alive. According to this story, he used no exploits or stalling to achieve the win. Now, it's a nice story and technically possible, but at the time, Jagex still had not announced who the winner was. Well, Mod Kieran would comment on You Never Learn's post soon after to give us some clarification. Kieran had spent the previous day investigating You Never Learn's final few minutes and confirmed that he was indeed telling the truth. You Never Learn was the actual winner of the tournament. The reason Jagex had yet to post an official statement was because, quote, yesterday and today are national holidays in the UK, so the team has not been back together yet and will be in the office tomorrow when an official announcement can be made. But what about that green dot on the minimap? Well, Mod Ash would later confirm that that was actually him, which makes sense. It would be pretty odd for the tournament announcers to have someone who was then a random player added as a friend, unless... The morning after Kieran's response, Jagex would make an official post confirming that You Never Learn was indeed the winner of the first ever Deadman Mode Tournament, and he would be receiving the $10,000 prize. RuneScape's first ever Deadman Tournament was a near disaster, but it makes sense. Trying to do something this unique on 15-year-old hardware was bound to have its issues, and even League of Legends' first few tournaments were pretty awful. I'm just glad that Jagex didn't give up after just one tournament, because boy do the next few get spicy. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. Check them out in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love the one about RuneScape's first year on the right. It was strikingly similar to Deadman Mode, but even better.